The vast silence of deep space stretched endlessly around the Ashari exploration vessel Saran 1. Its captain, Vorin, floated in the observation chamber, his smooth blue hands resting on the glass as he studied the darkness. Stars glittered like cold fireflies, distant and unreachable. To most Ashari, this was beauty, calm, mathematical, predictable, but to Vorin it always felt a little lonely. The Ashari people were explorers of logic and science. They avoided emotional connections with other species, especially humans. The humans were famous across the galaxy for their wild emotions, unpredictable courage, and impossible survival. Many Ashari historians called them beautiful. Chaos. Vorin had read all about them, but had never seen one with his own eyes. That changed on the 37th day of his mission. Sudden alert filled his chamber. "Unidentified vessel detected," said the ship's calm AI voice. "Life signs faint. Hull integrity at 12%. Vorin frowned and leaned forward. "Show me the visuals." A flickering hologram appeared. A massive gray ship drifting without power. It bore the faded markings of the Terran Confederation. Humans. The ship's outer surface was scarred by meteor impacts and energy burns. Sections of its hull were open to space. No engines, no shields. Just silence and death. Vorin's first instinct was to move on. Ashari law was strict about avoiding interference with foreign vessels. "Observe but do not involve," the code said. He stood there thinking. The rules were clear, but the image on his screen stirred something in him. Maybe curiosity? Maybe compassion. "AI," he said quietly. "How many survivors?" 32 faint life signs detected, the voice answered. "Oxygen levels critical. Estimated survival time, 19 minutes. 19 minutes, he looked out at the stars again. They seemed to stare back at him, silent witnesses to his decision. "Prepare docking sequence," he ordered. The AI hesitated. "Captain, this action violates—" "I know the law," Vorin interrupted. "Do it anyway." The Saran 1 moved toward the damaged ship, its lights cutting through the darkness. As they got closer, Vorin saw the human symbol painted on the hull, a blue and green world, half shadow, half light. Earth. He entered the human ship through an airlock, his translator unit active. The corridor inside was cold and dim, walls cracked and pipes leaking air. He could hear the faint sound of groaning metal as the ship slowly died around him. He moved quickly through the corridors until he found the survivors in what looked like a medical bay. Humans in a pale, cold, and gasping for breath. Some wore torn uniforms. One of them, a woman, was trying to fix an oxygen generator with shaking hands. When she saw Vorin, she froze. Her eyes widened. An alien?" she whispered weakly. Vorin knelt beside her. "Stay calm," he said in slow, clear English through his translator. "I'm here to help." Her name tag read Captain Mira Holt. She was the commander of the ship, but now she looked more like a survivor than a leader. "You came to help?" she asked, her voice faint. "Yes," Vorin said simply. "You have 19 minutes of oxygen left. I can transfer my ship's air and repair your systems." She stared at him as if he had said something impossible. "You're breaking your law for us." Vorin paused, surprised she knew that. "Maybe," he said quietly. "But laws mean nothing if they let others die." It took him and his drones 15 long minutes to stabilize the ship's core and redirect oxygen flow. When fresh air filled the room, Mira gasped deeply, tears forming in her eyes. "You saved us," she said softly. "You didn't even know us." Vorin didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to emotional displays. Among Ashari, gratitude was expressed through formal thanks or recorded acknowledgement. Never tears, never emotion. "I did what was logical," he said finally. "You were in danger. I had the means to help." She gave a weak smile. "Humans don't call that logic. We call that kindness." Vorin felt something shift inside him and a strange warmth in his chest. He had never felt it before. He helped the rest of her crew reach safety aboard his ship, where his AI provided food, warmth, and medical care. Hours later, when everyone was stable, Mira approached him again. She held 2 small metal cups filled with dark liquid. "Coffee," she said. "It's an old Earth drink. Bitter but good for long nights. Want some?" He hesitated, then nodded. He took the cup carefully and sniffed it. It smelled strange, sharp and earthy. When he tasted it, his eyes widened. "This is strong." Mira laughed, the sound echoing softly through the cabin. "Yeah, humans like strong things. For a moment they sat together in silence, two beings from different worlds sharing a simple drink in the middle of nowhere. "Captain Vuren," she said finally, "when we reach home I'll make sure humanity remembers what you did. We're not the kind of people who forget kindness." Vuren smiled politely. "That won't be necessary," but she shook her head. "Oh, it's necessary. You'll see." 3 days later, Vuren escorted the repaired human ship to the edge of Terran space. Before leaving, Mira reached out her hand, an odd gesture to him. "It's a human thing," she explained. "A handshake. It means respect." He studied her hand for a second, then carefully took it. Her hand was warm and firm. "Goodbye, Captain Holt," he said. "May your people recover quickly." "And may your people understand what you did for us," she replied with a smile. "Though, I have a feeling they'll hear about it soon enough." When Vuren's ship turned away and jumped back into Ashari space, he thought it was over. Just another mission. A simple rescue. But as he drifted once again among the stars, he couldn't shake the strange feeling her words left behind, that somehow, this small act would not stay small for long. Back in the Terran Confederation, the Ardent Dawn's return became a miracle story. News reporters swarmed the docking station, recording every word of Captain Mira Holt's testimony. "An alien saved us," she told them, her voice firm and emotional. "His name was Vuren of the Ashari. He broke his own laws to help humans. He gave us air when we were dying. Remember that name. Remember what one alien did for us." Within hours, her words spread across colonies, space stations, and the Earth itself. People repeated his name, Vuren, the alien who cared. Children in schools learned about the event. Artists painted scenes of the rescue. Engineers designed memorial ships bearing the name Siren 1, and somewhere far away, in quiet Ashari space, Vuren sat in his observation chamber, watching the stars again. His AI interrupted the silence. "Incoming message from human space," it said. Translation complete. Vuren blinked in surprise. "From the humans?" "Yes, it contains one sentence. Read it." The AI's tone softened as it spoke. "Thank you for saving us. Humanity remembers." Vuren sat back in silence, unsure whether to smile or worry. The message was short, but somehow it felt powerful. He looked out again into the endless dark, the faint reflection of his own face in the glass. One good deed. That was all it had been. One choice made in 19 minutes, but even he could sense it now. The universe had shifted, if only slightly. And somewhere, deep within humanity's restless heart, a spark had been lit. The human ship Ardent Dawn returned home like a ghost coming back from the stars. Its hull was scratched, its engines were half dead, and its crew was weak but alive. That alone made it a miracle. When Captain Mira Holt stepped onto the landing platform of the Luna Gateway Station, cameras flashed from every direction. Journalists shouted questions. People held banners that read, "Welcome home, heroes." But Mira didn't call herself a hero. Every time someone thanked her, she said the same words. "Don't thank me. Thank the Ashari who saved us, Captain Vuren." Within hours, her words were transmitted across the entire Terran Confederation. News channels replayed her interviews again and again. A clip of her standing proudly in her torn uniform became famous. "An alien saved us. Humanity remembers." That single phrase spread faster than any signal ever had. The spark of a legend people began searching for every detail they could find about the mysterious alien. Who was he? Why had he helped them? What kind of species risked punishment for strangers? Soon every media outlet had a version of the story. Some called it the Vuren miracle. Others named it the first kindness. On Earth, people began lighting candles at monuments. In Mars City, holographic billboards played Mira's words. On space stations orbiting Saturn, children wrote essays about the brave alien who cared more about life than rules. Human artists created sculptures and paintings of a blue-skinned explorer pulling humans from the fire of death. Poets wrote lines like, "One good deed in the dark became 1,000 lights in the sky." Even though most humans had never seen an Ashari, they now spoke of them with warmth and respect. The Council's worry, meanwhile, far from human space in the quiet blue halls of the Ashari Central Council, the mood was very different. "Vuren has broken the code," said High Scholar Dareth, her voice cold and sharp. "He directly interfered with an unstable species. He violated Non-Contact Law 17. Another counselor adjusted his robes. "And yet," he said softly, "the humans are not angry. They are grateful. That is precisely the problem, Dareth replied. Humans are unpredictable. Their gratitude could turn into obsession. We do not want them near our borders. But before the Council could decide, new reports arrived. Dozens of human ships were heading toward Ashari space, not with weapons, not with armies, but with gifts. The human flood of thanks. At first, the Ashari thought it was an invasion. Their border sensors picked up hundreds of Terran signals. But when the first human convoy entered orbit around the moon Kareth 4, there was no demand, no hostility. The ships opened their cargo bays and dropped containers filled with food, medicine, and repair drones. Each container bore a bright symbol, a green and blue world, and beneath it, the words, "With gratitude, from humanity." The Ashari border guards were speechless. Human engineers began repairing old Ashari satellites that had stopped working decades ago. They built communication towers, cleaned up toxic mining zones, and fixed damaged infrastructure. Ashari citizens didn't know what to make of it. They watched humans work side by side with them, smiling, laughing, and humming strange songs while building shelters. When one Ashari scientist asked a human worker, "Why are you doing this?" Well, the worker simply replied, "Because one of yours saved one of ours. We don't forget kindness." It was the same phrase that echoed across human space, but now, it was becoming a promise. Vuran's returned back aboard his exploration ship Saren 1. Vuran sat quietly, unaware of how much the galaxy had changed in just a few days. He was still recording his reports, explaining his small act of rescue, when an urgent message came from the Ashari Council. "Captain Vuran, you are ordered to return immediately. The Council demands your presence," Vuran sighed. He expected punishment, perhaps suspension from duty or loss of his exploration rights. Still, he obeyed. When he arrived at the capital world SCIFI-Prime, the Council chamber was filled with tension. The high domes glowed with blue light and holograms of star maps floated in the air. The moment he stepped inside, High Scholar Dareth spoke sharply. "Do you understand what you have done, Captain? Because of you, thousands of human ships are now moving through our borders." Vuran stood tall. "I saved lives. That is all. Your act has changed everything," she snapped. "The humans are giving us supplies, technology, and—" She hesitated as a messenger entered, whispering something in her ear. Her eyes widened slightly, "And they have built a monument. To you," Vuran blinked. "A what?" Dareth activated a projection. A holographic image filled the air. A massive statue standing in a human city. It showed an Ashari figure reaching out a hand to lift a fallen human. Beneath it were the words, "To Captain Vuran, who showed us that kindness knows no species." The chamber went silent. Even the strictest members of the Council were quiet. After a long pause, Vuran said softly, "I didn't ask for this." Dareth sighed. "That is exactly why they trust you. The unstoppable story within weeks. The story reached every part of the galaxy. On New Kyoto Station, human diplomats held a gathering called the Day of the Deed. On Europa Colony, children planted trees and named them after the Ashari homeworld. Even alien species outside the Terran Confederation started paying attention. Some of them laughed at humans' dramatic reaction. Others felt uneasy. The Takar Dominion, a warlike species known for conquering weaker worlds, watched in confusion. Their leader said, "Humans think like they fight and without limits." And it was true. Humanity's gratitude was not quiet or gentle. It was fierce, bright, and full of energy. They didn't just say thank you, they acted. They built. They changed. The visit one evening, as Vuran worked on his research station orbiting SCIFI-Prime, he received another unexpected signal. "Captain Vuran," said the AI, "incoming diplomatic ship from the Terran Confederation." Vuran frowned. "A diplomatic ship here?" Moments later, the vessel appeared. Small, white, and marked with the Earth symbol. When the airlock opened, Captain Mira Holt stepped through, smiling. "Captain Holt," Vuran said, surprised. "You came all the way here?" "I had to," she said. "The humans." "Well, we might have overdone it." Vuran raised a brow. "Overdone?" She chuckled softly. "Let's just say your people are a bit overwhelmed by our gratitude. So I came to make sure it's not causing trouble." Vuran gestured for her to sit. "It is confusing for my people," he admitted. "We are not used to this kind of emotion," Mira nodded. "That's fair. But humans don't do small gratitude, we go big. It's just who we are." They shared another quiet moment, remembering the night they first met on that dying ship. Vorin looked thoughtful. "Your people are strange, Captain Holt," she smiled. "You'll get used to us." The alliance begins. When Mira met the Ashari Council the next day, something remarkable happened. Instead of hostility, there was respect. The Council realized that humanity's wave of gratitude had done more for diplomacy than any treaty ever could. Trade routes opened. Cultural exchanges began. Humans invited Ashari scientists to Earth. Ashari engineers helped humanity upgrade their deep space sensors. The two civilizations, once strangers, were now talking like friends, and all of it started from one small act, one alien saving one human ship. A message to the stars back on Earth. A broadcast message went out across all known frequencies, a message written jointly by the Terran Confederation and the Ashari Council. Let this stand as proof that one act of kindness can bridge the distance between stars. Humanity remembers, and so will the Ashari. The message echoed through the galaxy. Every ship, every station, every world heard it. In the quiet of his ship, Vorin listened too. He looked out at the stars and whispered to himself, "All this from a single choice." He felt that strange warmth again, the same one he'd felt when Captain Holt offered him coffee. Perhaps he thought the universe wasn't as cold as he once believed. Months passed since Captain Vorin had rescued the human ship Ardent Dawn, but the story refused to fade. Instead, it grew larger, brighter, and louder until it filled the galaxy like music that never stopped playing. Wherever humans lived, from the cloud cities above, Venus to the frozen domes on Titan, people repeated the same phrase. One good deed deserves 1,000 more. At first, the Ashari thought the excitement would quiet down, but humanity did not know how to stop once it cared about something. What had begun as thank you gifts soon became a movement, a storm made of kindness and determination, a galaxy painted with gratitude. Across the Terran Confederation, engineers, artists, and explorers formed groups called the Vorin Projects. Their purpose was simple: to repay one act of compassion with many acts of good. They built hospitals on poor colonies, repaired old alien satellites, and even sent food convoys toward worlds suffering from drought. Every shipment carried the same emblem, a blue-green world surrounded by 12 stars and a small line of text. In honor of Captain Vorin of the Ashari, kindness beyond species. The symbol began appearing everywhere, on uniforms, starship hulls, and even on children's school bags. Teachers used Vorin's name when explaining the meaning of empathy. Remember, they told students, one life saved can change a galaxy. And the children would reply, smiling, "Because of Vorin." Ashari confusion back on the Ashari homeworld. Leaders watched in disbelief. Human fleets were arriving daily, not with weapons, but with construction drones and cheerful volunteers. On Karath 4, a human team built a medical research base and left it as a gift. On Rilma Station, they replaced broken power systems free of charge. The Ashari didn't know how to react. Their culture valued quiet service, not open displays. The endless human energy felt overwhelming, too loud, too emotional. Yet every human smiled as if helping was the most natural thing in the universe. An Ashari reporter interviewed one young volunteer named Eli Mason. "Why are you helping a species you barely know?" she asked. Eli laughed. "Because one of yours helped us first. That's what being human means, and we pay it forward." The reporter nodded slowly. "And if we ask you to stop?" He shrugged. "We'd still find a way to say thank you. Gratitude doesn't have an off switch." The interview spread across the net, and Ashari citizens found themselves admiring the strange, passionate humans, Vorin in the middle. Meanwhile, Captain Vorin became the most famous Ashari in history, a title he never wanted. Messages flooded his communication channels every hour. Humans invited him to speak at conferences, to visit Earth, to attend peace festivals. He rarely answered. The attention made him uneasy. He had done one logical thing, save lives, but humans had turned it into legend. One day, while Vorin studied cosmic data aboard Saran 1, the AI announced, "Incoming message, personal priority, from Captain Mira Holt." "Accept," Vorin said. Mira's familiar face appeared, smiling through the hollow screen. "Vorin," she said warmly, "I hope you're ready for a surprise." Humanity is throwing a festival next month, the Day of Kindness. It's in your honor, he blinked. My honor? That seems unnecessary, she laughed. Try telling that to 8 billion people. You've become our symbol of hope. I never asked to be, he said softly. I know, Mira replied. That's exactly why it means so much. You didn't save us for reward. And that's what humanity respects the most. She paused, her expression turning thoughtful. You should come, Vorin. Let them see the person behind the legend. Vorin hesitated, then gave a small nod. Perhaps it is time. The Day of Kindness. When the day arrived, Earth shone brighter than ever before. Giant screens floated above cities, showing images of humans and Ashari working together. From orbit, fireworks formed glowing words across the sky. One good deed. Millions gathered in Unity Square in New Geneva, where the largest stage in human history had been built. At its center stood Captain Vorin, tall and calm, his deep blue skin reflecting the lights. He looked both humbled and uneasy as the crowd cheered his name. Captain Mira Holt stepped forward to speak first. We humans have a habit, she said through the microphone, of remembering those who believe in us when no one else does. Captain Vorin didn't just save 32 lives, he reminded us who we are. The crowd erupted in applause. People waved banners showing both the Earth and the Ashari symbol side by side. Then Vorin spoke. His voice was soft but carried through the silence. I only did what seemed right. Kindness is not unique to any one world. You humans have turned gratitude into something powerful. I hope that power is used for peace. The crowd answered with a roar that shook the ground. Someone started chanting, for peace, for Vorin, and soon the chant spread like fire through the square. Above them, hundreds of drones released silver lights that drifted upward, forming a new constellation pattern called the Bridge. Astronomers later made it permanent, marking humanity's first star pattern dedicated to another species. A galaxy takes notice. Other alien civilizations began paying close attention. Some were curious, others were nervous. The Takar Dominion, known for its cold diplomacy, sent spies to observe the humans' celebrations. One Takar general whispered, "They build alliances with emotion. That may be more dangerous than any fleet." The Ral Consortium, a merchant race, saw opportunity. If humans honor gratitude this much, one trader said, we should help them and gain their favor. Their loyalty might be priceless, and soon, entire economies began adjusting to the kindness wave. Trade routes opened between distant species who wanted to share in humanity's growing alliance. But not everyone was pleased. A few warlike empires feared the rising unity. They called it the soft invasion, not by weapons but by goodwill. To them, the humans' gratitude was spreading faster than any army ever could. The unexpected gift after the festival, humanity offered a grand gesture. A massive orbital station built entirely by joint human Ashari teams. They named it the Beacon of Thanks. It was shaped like a star with 6 long arms shining golden light into space. Every arm was dedicated to a different species that had shown kindness to humanity in the past. At the center stood a small chamber with Vorin's name inscribed on crystal glass. Vorin visited the beacon quietly one evening. Inside the chamber, he found a small plaque. It read, "One alien saved 32 lives. Humanity answered with 32 billion acts of good." He stood there for a long time, his heart heavy yet warm. He realized that gratitude once given to humans did not end. It multiplied. Ripples in the stars. The beacon's light became a symbol of peace. Whenever a disaster struck somewhere in the galaxy, a collapsing colony, a sick population, or a lost ship, human relief fleets appeared within hours, often carrying banners that read, "For Vorin, for hope." Ashari scientists joined those missions too, inspired by the unity that had formed. Together they discovered new medicines, shared new technologies, and even began planning a joint exploration beyond the known galaxy. The Council of SCIFI-Prime, once skeptical, changed its laws. The non-contact code that had forbidden aid to foreign species was rewritten. The new rule simply stated, if life can be saved, it must be. And next to the rule's signature was Vorin's name. Quiet moments. After years of public attention, Vorin retired to a peaceful observatory on a small moon. From there he watched human and Ashari ships moving together through the stars, their combined lights forming long trails of silver. Captain Mira Holt sometimes visited him. They would share coffee, now one of his favorite human drinks, and talk about the changes they had witnessed. "Do you ever regret saving us?" Mira asked one evening. He smiled gently. "How can I regret a choice that led to so much light?" She laughed softly. "You sound almost human now." "Perhaps humanity has infected me with its gratitude," he said, amused. They both looked up through the observatory dome. The beacon of thanks shone brightly in the distance, its light reflecting off their faces. The beginning of something greater. Historians later called this era the Age of Kindness. Trade flourished, wars slowed, and many species began using the phrase the Voron principle, meaning one good act can rewrite destiny. No one could measure how far the shockwave of gratitude truly reached. New civilizations discovered the message carved on the beacon and joined the growing network of peace. And whenever anyone asked how it all began, the answer was simple. A single alien saved a dying crew. Humanity never forgot. Voron, sitting quietly beneath the stars, finally understood the strange warmth he had felt on that first day. It was not confusion. It was connection. The invisible thread that tied every life together. No matter how different, he whispered softly, perhaps kindness was the universe's greatest discovery after all. And somewhere beyond the stars, the light of the beacon shimmered brighter, carrying that truth to every corner of space. The galaxy was changing faster than anyone could have imagined. The story of Captain Voron's simple act of kindness had evolved into something that no one, not even the humans themselves, could fully control. Humanity's gratitude had grown into a wave, unstoppable and far-reaching. Where once their attention had been on survival and conquest, now they devoted their time and energy to honoring every act of kindness that touched them. And that wave was beginning to ripple beyond the Terran Confederation, an unexpected alliance in the Ceylon expanse. A cluster of isolated star systems, humans and Ashari, began joint missions to help struggling colonies. Planets that had been forgotten by their governments now received medical aid, clean water, and food supplies. Captain Mira Holt led one of the missions with Voron at her side. The crew worked day and night to repair crumbling habitats, build communication arrays, and teach the local inhabitants new techniques for agriculture and medicine. "Look at them," Mira said one evening, pointing to a field where children ran through newly planted crops. "These people didn't have hope until we arrived," Voron observed quietly. "Your gratitude is not simple," he said. "It is like a tide that lifts everything." Mira smiled. "That's how humans honor kindness. One small act grows into something bigger, something unstoppable." Voron thought about the first moment he had offered oxygen to her crew. One small choice had started this wave, and now it was reshaping entire star systems. Galactic attention. Not every species welcomed the change. In the Xylar sector, a militaristic race called the Korvax had long controlled trade routes through the Outer Rim. They relied on fear and strict laws to maintain order. When news of humanity's kindness wave reached them, their leaders were baffled. "They are not sending weapons," a Korvax admiral said. "Yet every world we watch is joining them. They build, they heal, they unite." The Korvax could not understand this behavior. They were accustomed to power through control, not empathy. And yet it worked. Systems that had resisted human contact for decades now welcomed aid and cooperation. One young Korvax diplomat whispered to his mentor, "If gratitude can unite this many systems, what stops it from becoming stronger than an army?" The older diplomat shook his head. "We are witnessing something new, something powerful." The beacon's influence. Meanwhile, the beacon of thanks, the orbital station built in Voron's honor, had become more than a monument. It was a hub of interstellar cooperation. Ships from hundreds of species docked there, exchanging ideas, culture, and resources. Voron walked through its glowing halls and observed children from different worlds sharing meals and stories. A group of human and Ashari engineers demonstrated a new energy generator, smiling as local aliens copied their designs. "This is extraordinary," Voron admitted to Mira Holt. "They are not just thanking. They are learning, sharing and building." Mira laughed softly. "That's the point. Gratitude doesn't stop at words. It moves people to act. It spreads knowledge, hope, and cooperation." Vorin shook his head, amazed. One small act, saving a single human crew, had led to this. Entire star systems were now connected through shared purpose. Unexpected challenges, but the shockwave of gratitude brought unexpected challenges. Some governments and alien factions grew uneasy. They feared that humanity's growing influence could disrupt the balance of power. The Rial Consortium, known for trade monopolies, attempted to pressure human fleets to pay tribute in rare resources. Humans refused politely, explaining that their mission was not profit but gratitude. Other species tried to spread rumors, warning that humans could be manipulating others with emotion. But these warnings fell flat. The sheer number of acts humanity performed, hospitals, schools, clean water systems, repaired ships, proved their intentions. Even skeptics began to change. They saw the tangible benefits of cooperation and recognized that humanity's gratitude was not a tool for conquest, but a force for growth. Stories everywhere. In the outer colonies, people told stories about Vorin and humanity. Children on icy moons read books about how one Ashari had saved human lives. Artists painted murals of the first rescue. Musicians composed songs about the ripple of kindness. One young student on Titan asked her teacher, "If one act of kindness can change so much, does that mean we can change the galaxy too?" Her teacher smiled. "Yes, that is the lesson. Every choice matters, no matter how small it seems." Vorin, reading these reports, felt a sense of pride he had never known. He had only followed logic, but logic had led him to compassion, and that compassion had sparked a movement. The human strategy, while many aliens marveled at humanity's approach, human leaders began formalizing ways to expand the wave of gratitude. The Vorin principle was written, "One good act must inspire another. Gratitude is action, not words." Terran fleets were equipped not with weapons but with tools, medical drones, engineers, translators, and educators. Wherever they went, they offered aid and friendship first, creating allies and forging trust. Vorin was amazed. "You are not fighting wars," he said. "And yet you are stronger than most fleets I have seen." Mira Holt smiled. "Strength comes from respect, from trust. Gratitude creates bonds that weapons never can." Even hardened Ashari leaders began to see the logic. The galaxy was safer, more connected, and more peaceful. All because humans remembered kindness. A surprising invitation one evening. Vorin received a personal invitation. It was holographic, sent directly from the Terran Council of Leaders. "Captain Vorin, we request your presence at the first Interstellar Summit of Gratitude. Your participation is crucial. Humanity wishes to honor your deed and discuss expanding kindness across the galaxy." Vorin hesitated. Public events had never been his comfort zone. But Mira encouraged him. "You've already changed everything, Vorin. Now it's time to guide it further." He sighed but agreed. Perhaps it was time to see the results of his small action firsthand. The Summit of Gratitude. When Vorin arrived at the summit, he was stunned. Delegates from hundreds of species gathered in one massive chamber. Humans stood at the center, welcoming aliens with warmth and respect. Each species had representatives share stories of kindness, of how humans' gratitude had inspired them. From repaired cities to shared knowledge, the evidence was undeniable. One small act had created an unstoppable wave. Vorin stood quietly, letting the delegates speak. When it was finally his turn, he addressed the chamber. "I only did what was right. But I see now that kindness is not just a choice, it is a responsibility. Your actions inspired by gratitude are changing the galaxy. May this wave continue to grow, to connect worlds and to protect life wherever it exists." The chamber erupted in applause. Every species, every culture recognized the truth in his words, a ripple beyond expectation. The shockwave of gratitude continued to spread. Isolated planets that had once been abandoned now received aid. Star systems previously unknown to humans began trading peacefully. Old enemies discovered new ways to cooperate. Even the Korvax and Ral Consortium, who had feared humanity's influence, began participating in joint projects. The galaxy, once divided by suspicion, was starting to unite through action and compassion. Vorin watched the reports in quiet awe. The first act, saving a small human crew, had transformed not only individual lives but entire civilizations. The ripple was infinite, moving faster and farther than any weapon could reach. The realization late one night, Voren stood in the observation chamber of Seren 1, gazing at distant stars. Mira's words from months ago returned to him. You should see what they've done with one act of kindness. He smiled softly, realizing that it was not the humans alone who had changed. He had changed too. One choice, simple, logical, compassionate, had awakened something within him he had never felt. Connection. He whispered to the stars, one good deed, and the galaxy remembers. And indeed, everywhere, from the smallest moon to the largest starship, the ripple of kindness moved onward, unstoppable and shining bright. Years had passed since Captain Voren's first act of kindness, and the galaxy looked very different now. What had started as a single rescue mission had grown into a wave of cooperation, trust and inspiration that touched countless worlds. The beacon of thanks, shining in orbit above the human homeworld, had become a symbol recognized by every species. Ships from across the stars came not only to honor humanity and Voren, but also to learn how gratitude could change civilizations. Voren walked quietly through the beacon's central hall, watching human and alien children play together. He marveled at the ease with which they shared, helped, and laughed, a living representation of everything that had grown from one small act. The celebration of unity, it was the anniversary of the first rescue, and humans had organized a galaxy-wide celebration called the Day of Gratitude. Every city, station, and colony participated. Voren was invited to speak, and this time he did not hesitate. Standing on the great stage at Unity Square, he looked out at the crowd of thousands, humans, Ashari, and representatives from dozens of other species. Lights reflected off banners showing the phrase, one good deed, infinite gratitude. Voren took a deep breath. Years ago I did what seemed right. I could not have known that a small act would grow into this. Humanity has shown that gratitude is not a quiet thing. It moves, it builds, and it changes the universe. The crowd erupted in applause, but the moment was quiet too. Every being present understood that one choice, one decision to act with compassion, had created a legacy far larger than anyone could imagine. A galaxy-transformed trade routes had been rebuilt across sectors that were once hostile. Ancient colonies, abandoned and decaying, had been revived through joint human and alien efforts. On the icy moons of Jovian colonies, children who had never left their domes now learned about distant stars, engineering, and farming. Thanks to human teachers who came to share knowledge without asking for anything in return, even former enemies joined the network of gratitude. The Korvax, once suspicious and fearful, now sent ships carrying food and medicine to planets affected by natural disasters. The Ryal Consortium expanded trade openly with human colonies, sharing resources freely, inspired by the simple human principle: give first, receive later. Across the galaxy, life was improving. Alliances were forming that no treaty could have forced. Wars were fewer, trust was greater, and hope was spreading. Voren's reflection late at night, Voren returned to his quiet observatory on the moon of SciFi-Prime. The stars reflected on his deep blue skin as he considered how far the galaxy had come. He thought about the humans he had met. Mira Holt, the crew of Ardent Dawn, the children who learned about kindness, and the adults who dedicated their lives to helping others. He realized something profound. One choice, made with logic and compassion, could ripple outward endlessly. It could reshape civilizations. It could inspire empathy across species that once thought they were too different to understand one another. He whispered softly to himself, one act can create a universe of change. The beacon's lessons, the beacon of thanks, had grown beyond its initial purpose. Its halls were now filled with classrooms, laboratories, and meeting spaces. Species from across the galaxy came to study methods of cooperation, humanitarian aid, and interstellar diplomacy inspired by gratitude. Voren walked through a classroom where a human teacher guided Ashari children and young aliens from different worlds in building solar-powered water purifiers. This is incredible, Voren said. They are learning not just science, but trust, kindness, and teamwork. The teacher smiled. That's exactly the point. We honor Voren by teaching what he inspired. Gratitude is not just remembering, it is acting. Voren nodded. For the first time in his life, he felt connected not only to humanity, but to the galaxy itself. The next generation on the colonies. A new generation was growing up with gratitude as a guiding principle. Schools taught the story of the Ardent Dawn, of Captain Mira Holt, and of Captain Vorin. Children learned that helping others could create ripples far beyond what they could see. In one school on Titan, a student asked, "If I help just one person, can it really matter?" Her teacher smiled and nodded. "It matters more than you know. One act can grow into 1,000 others." That's the lesson of Vorin. Across the stars, similar lessons were being taught in hundreds of languages. Gratitude was no longer just a human value. It was a shared principle across species. Challenges remain. Even with all the progress, the galaxy still had challenges. Natural disasters struck, political tensions arose, and some factions remained skeptical. But humanity's wave of kindness had set a standard. When a supernova threatened a mining colony, human and Ashari engineers worked together to evacuate civilians and stabilize the stations. The Korvax lent ships, and the Raal Consortium supplied materials. No one asked for payment. No one demanded recognition. They were responding to the chain of gratitude that had grown from one small act, long ago, by one alien who chose to act with compassion. The legacy of one deed Vorin often walked alone on quiet observation decks, thinking about how far it had come. He remembered the 19 minutes he had spent saving the humans' oxygen, the decision he had made to ignore the rules, and the coffee that Mira had offered him afterward. He realized that the universe had a way of responding to goodness. One small action could inspire countless others. One choice could ripple outward, creating hope, peace, and understanding. He looked at the stars and whispered, "All this started because I chose to do what was right." Recognition across worlds. Leaders across species formally recognized Vorin. Planets named cities after him. Ships bore his name across the galaxy. Every year, the Day of Gratitude reminded all life that kindness was a force stronger than fear, stronger than hate, and sometimes stronger than war itself. Even the Ashari Council, once strict and skeptical, built a statue on their capital world. Inspired by the monument humans had made, it depicted Vorin lifting humans to safety, a tribute to courage, logic, and empathy. Vorin did not seek glory, but he understood that his choice had taught something essential. Life mattered, and kindness could echo across the stars. A quiet moment with Mira Holton, the anniversary of the original rescue. Vorin and Mira sat together on the observation deck of the Beacon of Thanks. The stars stretched endlessly above them. "You see what your act has become," Mira said softly. Vorin nodded. "I never imagined. It is more than I could have predicted," she smiled. "You saved us. And humanity made sure the universe knew it. But it's not about me or you or even humans alone. It's about what one choice can inspire." Vorin looked at her, seeing the same determination and kindness that had first guided his hands to save her crew. "It is a powerful force," he admitted. "Yes," Mira said. "And it is endless as long as someone is willing to start it." The final message, the Beacon of Thanks, sent transmissions across the galaxy every day. Messages of unity, education, and inspiration. Let this be proof. One act of kindness can ripple through stars, connect worlds, and inspire generations. Choose compassion. Act with courage. And remember, the universe never forgets. These words were heard in every colony, every station, and every fleet. They became the guiding principle of interstellar diplomacy, exploration, and humanitarian efforts. Vorin read the messages and smiled quietly. His small choice had become a legend. But more importantly, it had created a living network of hope and goodness that would last far longer than any weapon, any empire, or any law. Conclusion: humanity and kindness shine. The galaxy had learned an important truth. The greatest power was not technology, not fleets, not even treaties. It was the simple act of helping another, the courage to act with compassion, and the choice to let gratitude guide action. Captain Vorin, once a solitary explorer, had become a symbol of that truth. Humanity, with its endless capacity for gratitude, had proven that even in the vast, cold reaches of space, kindness could create warmth, connection, and strength beyond imagination. The stars above the Beacon of Thanks shimmered like silver fire. Ships moved through space in coordinated harmony, carrying medicine, supplies, and hope. Children laughed together, Scientists shared discoveries, and leaders made decisions with empathy in their hearts. And somewhere in the quiet of his observation deck, Vorin whispered once more, smiling to the stars, "One good deed can change everything." The universe, it seemed, had heard,